So this is Masterclass Lesson 15. So this is about X hit combo, or the concept of X hit combo. The reason why I have decks where it says like 6 hit, 9 hit, 12 hit, 11 hit, stuff like that. The maximum I gotten to so far is 13 hit combo with my Burn Gohan 13 hit combo deck. And the concept is essentially using 6 cards or more. Is always better, of course, but essentially, you know, starting hand, optimally specific 6 card starting hand, and you go off. But ultimately, the main point is to be able to produce a certain amount of damage output on turn 1. That is the gold standard, as it were. Like, if you can do, you know, a lot of damage on turn 1, that's a lot of power for a deck to have. That literally on turn 1 it could produce that much damage, because typically on average you'll do 1 damage with your leader, or 2 if your leader has double strike or some ability to get double strike, or you give it double strike, so you could do 2 damage on turn 1, you know, on your attacking turn 1. So that means you're going second, so you can attack first at your opponent. But any time after turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, you know, obviously you can always output more damage later on, but the ability to just on turn 1 be able to produce a lot of damage where your opponent has less energy, less cards, until you start dealing damage, then their hand gets, you know, bigger, thicker, right? If they have the ability to untap energy by awakening, they're only untapping 1 energy, stuff like that. So that's the main concept and goal. Sorry, I was actually supposed to be playing this video so you can at least see a combo. Sorry about that. So this is just gonna, you know, show off the old 11 hit combo. Now we're up to 13 hit with this leader, but technically this is should be a 12 hit combo, because sometimes I forget to attack with a unison in this strategy. So technically this should have been a 12 hit combo. Because normally I just use the unison, I play it, then I do its -1 ability and bring out the two 10k skillless battle cards. But you know, I keep forgetting, like, the unison can attack. Why not attack with it? So technically this should be a 12 hit. But anyway, this is showing the idea of like the concept, you know, where it's like you're dealing, you know, your opponent damage. Of course, I'll be using my ability, so you see my life go down. Since my life went down, so did my opponent. So now my opponent is at 7 because of Gohan's ability. But you can get the same effect, and of course I can attack Gohan to deal another damage. So that's 2 damage I could deal with just the leader alone. But it's not that different from a leader that can either attack twice or has built-in double strike. So here's the idea that, of course, I swing with the leader. And then if I combo with Nappa in this scenario, I will be able to make it stronger. I think I decided to change my mind about the attacking. But I think I'm supposed to make another line of play first. I guess I'm going the unison route. And of course I minus. See how I didn't even use it to attack, I just played it and minused it. So that right there is 1 less damage, because I could just swing with the unison first, right? And then minus and bring out the 2. So that would have been 2 attacks plus the 2 skills bring out, that's 2 more attacks, so that'd be a total of 4 attacks. Then the leader and bodyguard legend, so that'd be 6 attacks. And that's before Nappa and Mercenary Tout hits the field, and even before bodyguard legend, and Bardock Resolute does his double strike, and before even Bardock Awakening, you know, Awakening Warrior Bardock, which is in my hand, the Overrealm, you know, dealing, you know, another extra 2. So the idea is damage output. You know what I mean? You're not guaranteed to do all this damage, but if you could produce all this damage as soon as turn 1, and even if half of it goes through, that's still a lot of damage on turn 1. You know, dealing your opponent 4 or more damage on turn 1, that's powerful. You know, especially in a game like this, right? That's powerful to be able to deal your opponent that much damage as soon as turn 1. So that's the goal with the X hit combo decks, and the whole concept behind it is damage output. And to, you know, because of course at any time, turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, with a nice thick hand, of course you can produce 30, 40, 50, you know, damage output. Because if you could play a whole bunch of battle cards and you're swinging at your opponent, you know, repeatedly, and they're doing their best to like try to stop every one of your attacks, right? Of course you can produce more. You can do 20 hits, you know, combos and 30 hit combos, because all it is just about damage output, you know what I mean? But to be able to do it on turn 1, that's where it's a little bit different. So by having a deck built in a way where you can, you know, with any combination of 6 cards in your hands, you could produce a good large number. Now this is a specific hand that will produce 12, even though this video says 11, it technically can do 12 if I attacked with the unison. So I could do 12. So that's impressive. 12 hits on turn 1 with 6 specific cards. That's pretty badass. But of course, any combination, you can produce a good amount of numbers, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you know what I mean? These are good numbers considering the fact your opponent only has 8 life. So, so it's not a complicated concept, you know, the idea of being able to play multiple cards that can do multiple damages is essentially the idea of going wide. You know, so everything you swing your opponent with, if it has double strike, even better, because you just need at least half of what you're swinging your opponent with to go through. So in this hand, you see that I mainly have only 2 cards that have double strike. Technically, you could count the leader as double strike with its burn effect, plus you could swing with it. So you can count that as double strike. So that right there is essentially 6 damage in that regards. Now, if you count the unison, now I count the unison, especially if I attack with it, as triple strike. Because I can attack with it, so that's 1 damage I could potentially deal. Then I minus, bring out the 2 skilllesses and swing with them, so that's 2 more attacks, so that's essentially 3 damage, right? So that's 3 plus the 2 double strikers and the leader. That right there is at least a minimum of 2, 4, 6, 3, 9, at least a minimum of 9 damage just with the leader, the 2 Bardarks, and the unison alone. Just those 4 cards alone can do at least 9 damage, which is already impressive enough. But the fact with all these other cards I have, like Nappa and Bodyguard Electric and Mercenary Tau and whatnot, right, that lets me go beyond the basic 9 damage that the deck can produce, which is the whole point of this, you know, combo here, is that idea that's like, look, I'm putting out a lot of damage. Look, here's double strike, 15k double strike. I got a 20k double strike. I got the 15k, you know, Bodyguard Electric right there, ready to swing. So this is just showing up the combo. Obviously, I'm not playing against nobody. There's a video showing where I do pull off a similar combo like this against a Dark Broly deck, and I was able to get the Dark Broly deck down to 2 life, right? If I'm right, it was either 2 or 1, one of the 2 numbers. I got them either down to 2 or 1 in a single turn. Granted, it was turn 2 because I went first, they went second. Then on my second turn, it's when I went off. But if they went first and then I went second, I still would be a go off because I still had the same hand. The hand still was the same. The difference was, it was just about when did I get to attack? Did I attack turn 1 when I only had 1 energy, or turn 2 when I had 2 energy? That's the only difference. And here in this example, you saw that it was only. Let me put this back. All right, pause it there. Oh wait, it's actually playing. So you get the idea. Is like, you know, here is showing like a turn 1 thing. So if my opponent goes first and I go second, based off of my hand, I can pretty much go off and do a lot of damage. And as long as my opponent can't easily clap back, you know, right, when they got 2 energy, like, you know, like how a Dark Broly, how a Red Broly deck or Broly BR deck could, you know, obviously with just 2 energy, you know, clap back at me, come back at me, and you know, do me a lot of damage. And if I don't have much defense, then, you know, they can do good. But if I have like a if I have Violent Rays and one energy up, consider the fact that most of my plays don't require too much energy anyway, except for like the 1 energy I might use for the unison, the Scion, you know, the Goku Junior, Vegeta Junior, Saiyan Unison. Other than that, one energy I use, if I have 2 energy, then 1 energy for the Saiyan play, or just not play and save the energy for the Violent Rays. Or if I have a second energy, play for the Saiyan Rays. You see in my hand I have Tobo, so if I keep 2 energy up, then there's a Tobo play, right? But you gotta know your matchup. You gotta know who you're going up against. Depending on the deck you're going up against, you could either go all in and just, you know, explode with the combo, or hold back, because, you know, you can always do it at any given time. You know what I mean? It's not something hard to do. You know, you got a lot of free play stuff, so it's not hard to go off. So you might want to play defensive first and then go off at the right time, because, you know, you can just swing in one turn and deal a lot of damage in one turn. You don't have to do like most decks where you do 1 or 2 damage turn 1, 1 or 2, maybe 3 damage on turn 2. You know, that basic way of doing things. Most decks, just the best they can do is that, just 1 or 2 damage a turn. But with my, you know, my builds, most of my builds tend to have a lot of, you know, free plays, or at least I just use a lot of the same stuff, like the Unison. You know, that Unison is pretty generic. You just need any energy, because it's a black Unison. Any energy, so you can just splash this into any deck, blue, red, green, yellow, whatever, and now you're essentially adding triple strike for 1 energy. Essentially adding triple strike for 1 energy to any deck, so you can kind of add the X combo ability to many decks. You notice I mainly use red and green with some black, of course, for the old realm type stuff. So there's some red, there's some green, but mostly red, mostly red and black, as you can see, but with a little splash of green. You know, mainly from the Nappa, but mostly red and black. You know, mixed together gives you this type of outcome. And red can be easily splashed, especially since most of the red stuff is free. Bodyguard Logic is free, you know, to play. The Mercenary Tau is free to play. And it's important to note that you need a red leader, of course, so you can't put him in any deck. It has to be with a leader that's red. But besides that, free, right? Nappa, red or green leader. So at least there's somewhat of a flexibility there, red or green leader, to use it. But it won't work with just any leaders. But red or green leader is important. So that's why it's important to, you know, the leader does matter when it comes to at least this strategy. Especially to get the most, it's best to have a red or green leader to get the most. Well, specifically red, because of Mercenary Tau tends to be in a lot of my hit combos, so you want mainly a red leader. And there's plenty of them, so it's not too hard to find a good red leader to use this combo with. Which is why a lot of my X-hit combo decks tend to be with red leaders, like red peel-off. Maybe I do an X-hit combo deck with Broly BR, you know, that kind of stuff, because the leaders are red, and I can splash in these red cards that specifically requires you to have red or whatever, or Nappa, requires a red leader or green, but mainly you'll be doing a lot of red stuff. So that's just like the idea. I don't want to take too long trying to explain this basic strategy, which is dealing a lot of damage in a single turn, specifically in turn 1, which is the goal. It's the standard, right? It's the idea that that's what you want to do. If you can produce a lot of damage on turn 1, well, you're building the deck right. Right? You're building the deck right, because you never know, you might need that. I've been in scenarios where that was important. Me being able to do a lot of damage on turn 1 was way more important than anything else, because it makes a big difference. Some decks, you can't let them get to turn, mainly 3 and 4, because that's usually when they go off. You want to go off sooner than that. That's where X-hit strategy comes in, where you're going off sooner than they can. Literally, as soon as turn 1, you can go off. And it's rare to beat somebody on turn 1. Not impossible. It has happened. I've had people just scoop just because of the fact that I was able to, go off on turn 1, and they just rather not even bothered, because even if they survive that turn, usually they have the ability to like combo out a little bit and survive the turn. They know they can't, push back at me. They know next turn I'm gonna just, attack with everything I already have and finish them off anyway. So they were able to survive 1 turn, but they can't survive 2 turns. So a lot of times you just win just because they're like, all right, I I can't beat you on my turn the way you almost beat me on your turn, then I just scoop. I have no choice. So sometimes just that alone wins you duels. Just the fact that you were able to put out so much damage and got so many bodies on board. There's like, if your opponent can't, board wide can't, take you out, in the clapback, right? Can't clap back and take you down and win the match right there and then on their turn. They know when you get your next turn, you're just gonna win because you have all this advantage, and just that alone is enough for you to win with. And that'll be the end of the video.